The story starts with a wounded warrior on a small boat in the middle of the sea. He looks tense as he wants to survive the poison which is spreading through his body. The warrior reaches out to his pouch to bring out a golden token and realizes that meeting up with a man named Handong is at the top of his bucket list. Suddenly, the warrior notices a big ship moving toward him from the opposite direction, and hearing a voice on the ship, he realizes that he has been tracked down by the enemy. Standing on the ship's dock is the scary warrior known as the White-Faced Demon, and she is surrounded by her soldiers. Mockingly, she tells the warrior to give up because he has reached the end of the line already. She suggests that he give up and surrender quietly, but the warrior simply tells her to shut her mouth. The warrior is ready to go out the hard way, but things are not going too well for him as he starts to cough up blood. The White-Faced Demon can only laugh at how the warrior is struggling. She lets him know there is a bonus for him if he surrenders, since her boss, Lord Jucho, has promised to give him a position if he joins the cause. These words only hurt the warrior, and in turn he gets mad, calling the White-Faced Demon a freaking traitor. The White-Faced Demon laughs at the warrior, letting him know that she is not a traitor, but a person who only follows the trend of things. The White-Faced Demon claims that the world is changing, and it is obviously Lord Jucho's era, which is why she has joined the man. The demon continues by mocking the warrior, letting him know that his beloved Sura clan has been wiped out, but even after hearing all of this, the warrior maintains the fact that the demon is a traitor. Holding onto the golden token, the warrior prepares to make his last stand, releasing a scary white aura around him. Even the White-Faced Demon is shocked to see this, and all she can do is watch as the warrior releases a huge load of energy attacks at her and the ship. This damages the ship, and the demon is left dumbfounded at how powerful a warrior is even after he is wounded. She decides not to take any more chances and orders her men to terminate the warrior immediately. Her men immediately lunge at the wounded warrior to try and take him out. Meanwhile, in Manhwa Castle, which is in the Hyangjo country, a young boy, Jinbake, is trying to sneak out of the house, but he gets caught by his sister, Maiden. Jinbake seems to be a serial escapist, forcing their grandpa to tell Maiden to keep an eye on the elusive boy. Knowing that he has been caught, Jinbake turns around, telling Maiden that he has no intention of leaving the house. But he hears that his friend, Bakebong, has lost his father. However, Maiden tells her brother to come up with another lie since he already used the same strategy a month ago. Jinbake finally realizes that he has been caught, forcing him to try and negotiate with his sister. He tries the cunning way of doing things by telling his sister that he saw a really pretty mirror at the market and he would love to buy Maiden the mirror. In addition to this, he also promises to buy Maiden candy on his way back, and hearing this, Maiden has no choice but to accept the deal. The two finally agree on 3 hours of outside time, but just as the excited Jinbake is about to leave the house, he suddenly gets smacked in the face. He falls to the ground, and when he looks up, he sees his grandpa staring at him. The old man's face looks scary as he holds his whip, which is his favorite thing to use on the stubborn Jinbake. The old man cannot believe just how stubborn Jinbake is, forcing him to ask the boy if it is so hard for him to just stay put when he is told to do so. The old man wonders why Jinbake doesn't just follow him out on hunts if he is so restless, and Jinbake replies that he has bigger dreams than just being a hunter. The old man's face turns red from anger as he hears this, and he strikes Jinbake with his cane, trying to figure out where he got his nonsensical mentality from. Later that night, Jinbake sneaks out yet again, and he sits by the beach, talking about how he is tired of his boring life. Jinbake hasn't done anything exciting since he was born, and he is itching to do something interesting like learning martial arts and becoming a wandering swordsman. He imagines himself becoming a wandering warrior, riding a black horse, wearing cool beast pelts, wandering the world to catch bad guys while also gaining fame for himself. While imagining all of this, Jinbake is already excited, and it doesn't even stop there as he starts to think of meeting a beautiful lady in danger. He talks about defeating the enemy and getting close to the girl, which will, in turn, force the girl to ask him what his name is. Jinbake is already living a moment of fantasy in his head, and he even thinks of a cool name for himself, Jinbake, the Dragon Flaming Heavenly Lord, which is a freaking long name. As he continues to fantasize in his head and jumps up in excitement, the waves from the beach hit and ruin his good mood. He then starts to wonder why there are sudden waves on the beach, and at that moment, he looks down to see what the waves have brought to the beach. Jinbake's eyes open in shock as he sees the lifeless body of the warrior lying in the sand. Jinbake cannot wrap his head around what he is looking at, and hanging in the dead man's pocket is the golden token he was holding on to. Elsewhere in the capital, the ministers are waiting in the throne room for the imperial majesty. Standing apart from the ministers is Chancellor Jucho, wearing a shiny and attractive outfit. Jucho suggests the emperor wear his royal outfit and step out to meet his ministers. One of the ministers tries pulling Jucho backward, telling him to let the emperor be, but Jucho takes offense at this. The minister lets Jucho know that it is rude for him to enter the emperor's bedchamber, but Jucho angrily grabs the minister, telling him that he is the one being rude. Jucho sees himself as the ultimate ruler, so someone like the minister doesn't have the right to raise their voice at him. Lord Jucho shows how strong and dangerous he is when he punches him into the wall with just one hit. The minister is left bloodied while the rest are trembling in fear of what they just witnessed. Lord Jucho then continues into the emperor's chamber, telling him that he cares for him. Apparently, the emperor is not feeling too well, and Jucho suggests that the emperor leave the capital and head to the south, where he can recuperate. Jucho also tells the emperor that he shouldn't worry about the affairs of the country while he's trying to recover. Jucho sees himself as someone who has dedicated himself to taking care of the people, and this is something he has been doing since the death of the previous king. Lord Jucho doesn't hide his intentions of leading the country while the emperor is deposed, and none of the ministers have the guts to challenge him since they know what he is capable of. After hearing everything that Jucho has to say, the emperor finally agrees to leave the capital and head south as proposed. Back to Jinbake, he returns home the following morning, but his grandpa won't let this slide as he starts chasing him around the compound, aiming to beat him senseless. While running and avoiding his grandfather's cane, Jinbake tells the old man that he accidentally fell asleep at the beach, but his grandpa does not believe this and assumes that the young man was out there at night picking fights. Jinbake cannot debunk this assumption since he can't exactly tell his grandfather that he found a corpse in the middle of the night, which will only make things worse. The old man finally gives up after chasing the stubborn brat for a while, and he hands him a bag of venison, telling him to take it to the butcher to sell. Knowing how restless he is, his grandfather urges him to get the right amount of money for the venison, but Jinbake wishes that the old man could go sell the merchandise himself. However, Jinbake removes any spirit of rebellion that might be lurking inside of him when he looks at how serious his grandfather is. Jinbake reaches the market and delivers the meat to the butcher, and after receiving the payment for the goods, he thinks of buying snacks. He also remembers that he needs to buy Meda the hand mirror he promised her, but suddenly, he sees people gathered in the distance. He walks over to investigate and sees a stern-looking man standing up to a bunch of thugs. The man prevents the thugs from touching an old man. But this makes the thugs angry, telling the unusual fellow to mind his business. The fact that the man is standing up to them is surprising because the thugs are considered to be ruthless, and no one in the area messes with them. Judging by this act of bravery or stupidity, the people watching figure out that the unusual fellow is not from the area. Since the fellow is carrying a sword with him, the people assume he is being stupid because he has a sword, but the fellow proudly tells the thugs that he doesn't need his sword to take down pathetic fools like them. This statement gets the thugs really mad and they all rush at the swordsman, but the swordsman doesn't even show any sign of fear. In a flash, the swordsman takes down the 5 thugs in one hit, leaving them rolling on the floor in pain. The swordsman was too fast for anyone in the area to catch his movements, and the spectators were even more surprised to see the swordsman standing a distance away from them, leaving them to wonder when he got there and how. Witnessing this, Jinbake easily figures out that the man is nothing but an incredible warrior, and as a person interested in martial arts, Jinbake wastes no time running after the swordsman. Jinbake tells the man that he admires him since this is his first time running into a wandering swordsman. Jinbake makes his request known, telling the man that he would like to learn martial arts from him, but the man just ignores Jinbake, and he continues walking away. Being a persistent and stubborn person, Jinbake continues following the swordsman until he slips and falls to the ground. His money and the golden token fall out of his pocket, and while he is trying to gather everything back, the swordsman spots the golden token, which immediately catches his attention. Jinbake gets back up, and he is still in the middle of offering the swordsman hospitality at his house when he is grabbed by the collar. The swordsman's face is totally changed into a serious tone. With a serious voice, he asks Jinbake why he has that object with him. Looking confused and lost, Jinbake asks the swordsman what he is talking about. The swordsman then lets him know that he is referring to the golden token that fell out of his pocket, and to defend himself, Jinbake lets the swordsman know that he is not trying to hide the golden token. Looking at the way Jinbake is acting, the swordsman figures out that there is no way in hell he could have defeated the courier. However, he needs to know the truth, and he orders Jinbake to tell the truth or risk losing his life. He shows how serious he is by slightly unsheathing his sword, and Jinbake, sensing the scary aura, tells the swordsman that a body washed up from the sea. Upon hearing that it is a dead body, the swordsman gets even more serious, and he further asks Jinbake to explain every detail, like what they looked like and what they were wearing. Jinbake, fearing for his life, starts to explain in detail what he could remember, and he tells the swordsman that the body he found looked like that of a 40-year-old man, but as for the clothes the man was wearing, he doesn't know. However, He remembers that there was an X-shaped scar on the forehead of this man, and the moment the swordsman hears this, he lets Jinbake go. The swordsman then asks Jinbake what he did with the body, and without hesitation, Jinbake reveals that he buried the body in the nearby windbreak forest. The swordsman then asks Jinbake to take him to where he buried the body, but meanwhile, the white-faced demon and her soldiers are scouring the beach, looking for the warrior's body. The white-faced demon is very sure the warrior's body must have washed up on the beach, but there are no traces yet. After thoroughly thinking about it, the white-faced demon concludes that the courier is still alive, and she tells her soldiers to search every corner of the village until they find the courier. Jinbake takes the swordsman to the grave where he buried the courier, and when the man sees this, tears roll down his face. Jinbake reveals that he didn't know what to do with the body after he found it, which is why he buried it in the forest. The swordsman falls to the grave, weeping bitterly over the loss of his senior colleague. The swordsman knows Jucho is behind all of this, and since he is ready to take extreme measures to achieve his goals, the swordsman vows to do the same. After he is done crying, the swordsman thanks Jinbake for taking care of his senior, and he also apologizes for doubting his involvement in whatever could have happened to the man. The swordsman prepares to leave, but Jinbake quickly stops him, asking him why he is leaving so quickly. The swordsman is surprised at the question, wondering what else he is supposed to be doing in the village. Jinbake doesn't know what excuse to give and tries to convince the swordsman that it is getting dark. Since it's getting dark and on the assumption that the swordsman doesn't have a place to stay, Jinbake suggests he spend the night at his house. The swordsman tells Jinbake not to worry about this because he is in a hurry, but Jinbake, being Jinbake, insists that the swordsman follow him. Left with no choice, the swordsman decides to follow Jinbake, and Jinbake's happiness knows no bounds because he knows that a chance to learn martial arts is finally here. The swordsman follows Jinbake, but lets him know that he will only stay the night and nothing more, and while this is happening, the two have no idea that they are being watched by one of the white-faced soldiers. The soldier returns to the beach to find the white-faced demon scolding the others for being incompetent. He then tells the white-faced demon that there is a development. The white-faced demon assumes that they have found the courier, but the soldier says no, but instead of the courier, they have found the swordsman, who is known as Handong. The white-faced demon hears this, and her face lights up in excitement as she imagines loads of things she's going to do to the swordsman. Jinbake and Handong get to the house, and Jinbake excitedly tells his sister to prepare dinner for their guest. And when Manon asks her brother who the guest is, he silently tells her that the man will be the one to teach him martial arts. Amidst the excitement, Jinbake's grandfather spots Handong and immediately figures out that he is a swordsman. The old man stands up from where he is sitting and immediately tells Handong to leave the house, but Jinbake tries to convince his father to let Handong stay. Jinbake tells his grandfather that Handong is just a guest, but the old man cannot see what his grandson is seeing. Even Handong tries to defend his case by telling the old man that truly he is a wandering swordsman, but he only came to the house because he was offered a place to stay. After hearing this, the old man decides to let Handong stay, but lets him know that he will only allow this for one night. Just then, something catches Handong's eye, and this is a scar on the old man's chest, which is probably from acupuncture pressure points. After agreeing to let Handong stay, Jinbake tells his grandfather to go to his room to rest for the night. On the other hand, Handong is still baffled by the scar as he knows what it means. Scars like that are pressure-blocking points that allow it to seal off the use of martial arts, leaving Handong to wonder if the old man was once a wandering swordsman too. Jinbake asks Handong to follow him so he can show him his room, and while strolling, Jinbake tries to get them to introduce themselves, but Handong is not interested since they are going to part ways the next morning. Jinbake chuckles when he hears this and apologizes to Handong for his grandfather's actions, revealing that the old man hates martial arts, but Jinbake, on the other hand, loves martial arts. Jinbake asks Handong if he would be willing to teach him martial arts even if it is once before he leaves. Jinbake tells the swordsman about his dream to become a swordsman and save people, but after hearing his description of what a swordsman should be, Handong looks at Jinbake and scolds him for believing that being a martial artist is a game. Jinbake is trying to argue his case when he hears his sister's voice in the distance, forcing the two to rush over to where Maiden is. They get there and are shocked to see the white-faced demon and her soldiers holding Maiden and the old man hostage. Jinbake is left to wonder what is happening, but Handong already knows that his nemesis has caught up to him. The white-faced demon smiles evilly as she greets Handong. On the other hand, Jinbake doesn't think twice before rushing toward his sister, but the bad guys show him that they are not there to play with him. One of the bad guys swings his sword and it cuts the old man on the chest, letting Jinbake know that things are serious. Jinbake can only watch as his grandfather's blood spills on the floor, Handong is not impressed with the way things are going, as they have never used children as a means to get what they want before. He tells Jinbake to be careful because he might die if he pushes his luck, leaving Jinbake to wonder just how much of a mess they are in. Handong is forced to ask the white-faced demon how she has managed to get to the house, and the lady sincerely answers that she was tracking the trail of the escaped courier, and surprisingly led her to Handong. She says this while boldly waving her hands to show her golden sharp claws. The white-faced demon then asks Handong if he managed to meet the courier and also if he was able to acquire the Jade talisman. After hearing the question, Handong just keeps quiet without giving a reply, and the white-faced demon already expected this. She knows Handong is a stubborn man, but she is ready to give him a reason to say everything he knows. The white-faced demon grabs Maiden and drags her closer. The white-faced demon plans to use Maiden as her way of getting to Handong. The request is simple. Handong cooperates with them or the girl dies. The white-faced demon has her claws on the girl's neck, ready to dig in if anything goes the way she doesn't want. Basically, Maiden's life is in Handong's hands, and the white-faced demon is waiting to see how he is going to handle the situation. Handong thinks of his options for a moment before urging the white-faced demon to let Maiden go, since he is the one she has a problem with, not Jinbake's family. The white-faced demon goes silent before finally giving an answer. The white-faced demon lets off an evil smile before telling Handong that she is enjoying the entire thing, and she is not ready to let the girl go. She tells Handong that the only way to free the girl is if he answers the question properly, and to show how serious she is, the white-faced demon slashes the girl with her poisoned claws. Handong's mouth is left wide open while Jinbake calls on his injured sister. Jinbake rushes over to his injured sister, while Handong angrily unsheaths his sword, throws away the sheath, and aims his weapon at the white-faced demon. He unleashes a huge white energy at the white-haired demon, but she swiftly dodges the attack. The white-faced demon is happy to see this, since this is what she has been waiting for. The whole area turns white from Handong's attack, but the white-faced demon is super hyped for the battle that is about to unfold. The white-faced demon is impressed that Handong hasn't lost his skills, and the fact that he is still easy to manipulate. She prepares to face Handong head-on, but in the blink of an eye, Handong disappears in front of her. Before she knows it, he appears right above her with serious intentions to unalive her. The soldiers want to interfere, but the white-faced demon tells them not to. She intends to fight Handong all by herself, and while this is ongoing, Jinbake is standing over his wounded grandfather with the realization that the life that comes with being a martial artist is not a pretty one. The fight between Handong and the demon is intense, with Handong getting the upper hand by slashing through the demon's claws. Handong asks the demon if she and Jucho have gone crazy to the extent where they are now involving innocent people in their fight. The white-faced demon admits that they are now worse than before, claiming that they cut down anyone who stands in their way. The battle between the two continues, with the demon losing more of her golden claws. The demon is enjoying the battle, but she realizes that there is no time for fun, and since this is the case, Handong wants to finish everything in a single strike. Handong starts to channel his inner energy to cook up a big and devastating strike in an attempt to take down the demon in one strike. Everyone watching can only stare in silence as they watch Handong show what he is capable of. Once he is done preparing his attack, Handong charges at his enemy, but he slightly misses the target, leaving the demon in horror. The demon turns around to make fun of Handong, but her smile soon fades when she realizes that Handong's initial attack was a distraction. The main attack is coming from above, and she has no way of dodging it. The attack hits, leaving massive destruction in its wake. Jinbake, who is watching from a distance, is left dumbfounded at what a martial artist is capable of doing. This is his first time witnessing martial arts firsthand, and this basically tells him that all he has heard about martial arts is nothing compared to the real deal. Suddenly, Handong hears the demon talking to him from the other side of the ruins. Handong is shocked to hear this, since he expected the demon to be dead already, but nonetheless, he ignores her. He tells Jinbake to urgently sit his sister up. The poison from the demon's claw is slowly slipping into Maiden's body, and Handong needs to do something about it. He starts channeling his inner energy into the girl to try and help her. Jinbake, who has always been a martial arts enthusiast, suddenly loses interest as he realizes that the world of martial arts is cruel and not for the weak. Jinbake's grandfather also regains consciousness, but he is obviously weak. Jinbake tells his grandfather to rest and not worry about things, since Handong is already injecting Maiden with his inner energy to draw out the poison inside her. The old man begs Handong to save his granddaughter, hoping that they can hold on for an hour just to get past the poison's critical point. However, there is another problem on the rise, and this is the demon. She is starting to get back up from underneath the rubble, and this poses a big problem for everyone. When the white-faced demon finally gets back on her feet, she commends Handong for being incredible, but lets him know that what he has is still not enough. The white-faced demon whips out brand new golden claws and starts to put them on. Handong is shocked to see the demon standing and realizes that he might have underestimated the lady a bit. The white-faced demon tells Handong that he might have improved, but the same can also be said about her. She claims she is not who she used to be, and she prepares to hit Handong with one of her poisoned attacks, knowing fully well that Handong is busy healing Maiden. Just before she can get to Handong, Jinbake arms himself with a gun and shoots at the white-faced demon. This is meant to harm her, but it does absolutely nothing to the demon as she easily deflects the bullet with her claws, leaving Jinbake terrified. Nonetheless, Jinbake reloads his weapon and aims it at the demon, but Handong urges him to stay back since he knows that the boy has no chance against the demon. Even the demon doesn't feel a bit threatened as she sees the gun as nothing but a toy to play with. Jinbake fires another shot, but the result remains the same, with the white-faced demon easily deflecting the bullet. The demon then retaliates by hitting Jinbake with an attack that knocks him down. The old man shouts in fear, thinking the worst must have happened to his grandson, but thankfully, Jinbake is alive. Jinbake tries to move but realizes that he is pinned down under rubble, making it difficult for him to leave his current position. The demon tells Jinbake to know his place, and she turns her attention to Handong, who is busy trying to help Maiden. Fear grips Jinbake as he knows that Maiden is in danger and there is no one to help her. Jinbake wants to help, but he also cannot since he is trapped under rubble and unable to move. The demon gets to Handong and places her sharp claws on his neck, asking him to make his next decision wisely because it largely depends on his life. She asks Handong if he is ready to join Jucho's gang. She promises to let him heal the child without disturbance if he agrees to the proposal, but if he says no, Handong can already figure out what will happen. The demon waits patiently for Handong to give his answer, and after a moment of silence, Handong finally opens his mouth to reveal his decision. Without stuttering, Handong lets the demon know that he would rather die a gruesome death than work for the piece of shit bastard. The demon is disappointed with this reply, and being a woman of her word, she prepares to eliminate Handong with her poisoned claws. The demon raises her hand, and just as she is about to slash Handong's neck, a bright golden light shines behind her. Everyone is shocked by the light, but it turns out that Jinbake is channeling his inner energy. He imbues his inner energy into the gun and fires it at the white-faced demon. The demon manages to dodge the attack at the last minute, leaving her rattled. However, she suffered a cut to the face, revealing that she would have been seriously hurt if the attack had hit her. After firing the weapon, Jinbake finally passes out, but the white-faced demon has witnessed what the guy can do and the skill he possesses. Without mincing words, the white-faced demon comes to the conclusion that Jinbake is actually dangerous and even more dangerous than she initially thought. The white-faced demon knows for a fact that Jinbake is going to become a problem for Lord Jucho if allowed to live. The white-faced demon then concludes that uniliving Jinbake is the best way to go about the situation, but before she can get into action, she hears the old man telling her to wait. With little to no attention, she decides to listen to what the old man has to say. The old man knows the group is looking for the Jade talisman, and since their target is the 8 Jade talismans, the old man tells her that they are in the wrong place. The old man reveals that what they are looking for is not in the area, and as he says this, Handong and the demon pay close attention to hear what he has to say. The white-faced demon is shocked when she hears the old man talking about the talismans. She is forced to ask the old man if he knows what he is talking about, and he says yes. Inside her head, she wonders if the old man is actually telling the truth. She then asks Jinbake's grandfather if he is speaking the truth or just mumbling words because he is trying to save his own skin. The white-faced demon is convinced that the old man should know about the talismans because they are not that common, and it is not something an old man like him should know. Realizing that the white-faced demon is not ready to believe him, the old man finally decides to give in. He asks her if she knows about the Great Hyapsa Temple. This was a popular temple that was wiped out decades ago by the demon cult, but the white-faced demon is interested in why the old man is talking about a forgotten temple. The old man finally reveals that his name is Jin Shu, and he is the last survivor of the Great Hyapsa Temple. Handong's eyes light up in surprise, and the same goes for the white-faced demon. The white-faced demon doesn't want to believe this, and she immediately tells the old man to keep his mouth shut, saying she heard that there were no survivors from the Great Temple. In addition to this, the Great Temple was a group of warrior monks who rivaled the Shaolin, and the white-faced demon also adds that the old man wouldn't have fallen to the earlier attack if he truly was who he claimed to be. To prove that he isn't lying, the old man reveals the scar on his chest to let the white-faced demon know that he abandoned martial arts after he survived. Jin Shu tells the white-faced demon that he made a vow that very day never to involve himself in the affairs of the martial world. The 8 Jade talismans are beads that are said to have been created by a legendary divine monk. and the great Hyopsa temple was conducting research on the talismans. It is said that possessing one of the beeves would grant immense power to the wielder, and all the research data was passed down through generations in the temple, known as the 8 Gates True Scripture. However, with the death of everyone in the temple, leaving just Jinshu alive, he is the only one who knows about the scripture. Jinshu had heard the white-faced demon talking about Jucho, letting him know that Jucho was the one behind all of these events. Adding to the fact that they are still actively searching for the jades, Jinshu is confident that the group doesn't know everything about the talismans yet. Jinshu then makes a proposal. He offers to go with the white-faced demon if she promises not to touch his family, and judging by the situation at hand, the old man knows this is a fair deal. The white-faced demon is skeptical, but with everything that Jinshu has said, she doesn't think he is lying. In addition to this, she can feel the immense pressure coming from Jinshu, which tells her that he is no ordinary person. The white-faced demon agrees that the offer is quite tempting, but tells the old man that she would need to trust him before accepting the deal. To have leverage over the old man, the white-faced demon gives him a pill to swallow. This is a pill known as the black silkworm, and it requires taking the antidote periodically. If not, the affected person will die a very painful death, feeling as if their body is being eaten by worms. The white-faced demon wants the old man to swallow the pill as a precaution since she can't fully trust him yet. She then adds that any form of disobedience from the old man will lead to the death of his precious family. Jinshu takes the pill from the demon and swallows it, hoping that she is going to keep her promise. Meanwhile, Handong is still healing Medim, but now he is already regretting the way things have turned out. He knows that none of this would have happened if he hadn't let his guard down. Knowing he would leave with the demon, Jinshu asks Handong for a favor. Firstly, he apologizes for the way he treated Handong earlier before asking him to take care of his grandchildren in his absence. Jinshu also turns to his knocked-out grandchild, asking for forgiveness for hiding the truth all these years. He also wishes that Jinbake continue to live his life without thinking about him. Once Jinshu has said everything that he needed to say, it is time for him to leave. The demon teases Handong, telling him that it would have been fun if they could settle their fight, but she doesn't have that luxury at the moment. However, she is sure that their paths will cross again someday, as long as they both remain in the same line of business. Later on, Jinbake finally regains consciousness, and he looks around to see that Handong is done healing his sister. Handong is just sitting there, waiting for them to wake up from their deep sleep. Jinbake is thankful that his sister is alive, but suddenly it dawns on him that his grandfather is missing. Handong tells Jinbake about his grandfather, and he also relays his departing words to him. After hearing all of this, Jinbake is worried, and he is forced to ask Handong if his grandfather will be fine. Handong tells him that as long as Jucho still has a use for him, the old man should be fine. However, the question of what will happen to the old man after Jucho no longer needs him remains unanswered. Jinbake knows he cannot stand by while all of this unfolds, and since Handong is also going after the 8 jades, Jinbake suggests that he come along. Jinbake plans to meet Jucho and save his grandfather because the events of the past few hours have shown him that he's a weakling who can't do anything for his family. He blames himself for everything that has happened so far, but Handong tells him not to. Instead, all the fault should be placed on him, Handong. In a moment of emotion, Jinbake begs Handong to teach him how he can get stronger, as he is ready to do anything that Handong requires of him as long as it means becoming stronger. Knowing fully well how cruel the martial arts world is, Handong asks Jinbake if he is ready to face the harsh reality of things. With determination running through his veins, Jinbake assures Handong that he is ready to die as long as it means protecting his family. And this answer pleases Handong. Since they are going to be trading together, Handong finally tells Jinbake his name. At the capital, Jucho receives a message from the demon updating him on recent developments. Jucho smiles after receiving the message as he clearly knows he is getting closer to the beads day by day. He praises the demon's methods and tenacity, while in the middle of this, one of the ministers shows up to tell him that the emperor has arrived at his destination. The emperor is currently at the south-facing hall, which is filled with the scent of flowers. But as expected, all of this is part of Jucho's plan. Jucho already has plans to eliminate the emperor while he is there, which will, in turn, make him the imperial ruler. Since Handong has agreed to train Jinbake, the two are now traveling together. Jinbake is dragging a big boulder with him, and he is not allowed to drop the boulder until Handong tells him to. Jinbake is tired and exhausted, but Handong urges him not to give up because there is nothing special about martial arts. He claims martial arts is nothing but consistent training, and since Jinbake wants to get stronger, he has no choice but to endure the training. Jinbake is ready to do whatever is required of him, which is why he even left his sister at his friend's house so he could travel alongside Handong. Handong tells the young man that their first destination will be Anlin Castle, which is where the courier was also heading. Handong has no specific instructions as to why they need to go to the castle, but he knows it must be related to Jucho. Upon hearing Jucho's name, Jinbake recognizes him as the Chancellor, but Handong tells him something interesting. Handong reveals that Jucho was the one who poisoned the late king, but surprisingly, Jucho wasn't originally a bad or evil person. Jucho was someone close to the king, and he helped the king with the affairs of the nation. In addition to this, he was in good standing with the Sura clan, which was a direct unit under the king. Handong reveals that he was also a member of the Sura clan, but everything changed one day when Jucho obtained a mysterious bead from an unknown place. The Jucho that everyone knew and loved disappeared that day, and he started using strange sorcery that caused his power to become overwhelming. Jucho then began making plans to conquer the world, eliminating all those close to the late emperor. Part of this group was the Sura clan, and in the end, the clan members were scattered. While narrating the story to Jinbake, Handong realizes that the bead Jucho received that day must have been one of the 8 Jade talismans. Handong further adds that the current ruler is also in danger, and to stop Jucho, they need to gather the scattered members of the Sura clan. Jinbake, however, is no longer paying attention to the story as he is about to pass out from exhaustion. Handong lets him know that they still have 30 more kilometers to go, so he doesn't have the luxury of giving up yet. Jinbake wants to complain, but Handong reminds him that consistency is the key. Meanwhile, Handong is actually impressed that Jinbake is still standing after so long, even though he's just a rookie. Not long after this, Jinbake falls to the ground, ready to give up, but Handong tells him to stand up because they have already reached their destination. Jinbake looks up to see a cow herder reaching out to raise him up. The cow herder is in town with his very big cow, which leaves Jinbake wondering what they are feeding the cow. Handong then reveals that Amlin Castle is famous for its large Western population and stable politics, which have led to a thriving economy. Just when Jinbake and Handong are preparing to find a restaurant to eat at, the castle lord shows up in town. He seems to be very popular among his people, as they all gather around his carriage to greet him. Every citizen of the area has something good to say about the castle lord, whose name is Yupio. Just then, the cow spots a bunch of fireworks crackers and goes wild because of this. It forces itself away from its herder, and in a sudden change of events, the cow charges for Yupio. No one can stop the cow's advance, and fear grips Yupio. Out of nowhere, a man appears in front of the cow, and with his calm blue energy, he is able to get the cow back to its senses. This leaves everyone excited, and it seems the new guy is also popular among the people. His name is Jack. Once everything is under control, the cow herder apologizes for endangering everyone. While this is happening, Handong wonders what kind of man Jack is and what martial arts he possesses. Handong is even more baffled and confused when he realizes that Jack, who is obviously a powerful man, is working as an aide to the castle lord. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and watching the next video on your screen. Also, let me know what you think by leaving a comment down below, and feel free to suggest what you want to see in the next video.